Hi, this is Pat Moorhead, and we are live here at Google Cloud Next 2022 here at the beautiful new Google facility, Pier 57. I'm joined here by my co-host, Daniel Newman. Daniel, great event. How are you doing?
Taking it all in, my friend. It's beautiful here. Got to enjoy the scenic sort of New York. It's fall, so it's still, it's still temperate. You can get out there and enjoy it. But this place is awesome, and it's been a really informative and productive day. And if you're a Google Cloud person, you've got to be pretty excited.
No, totally. A lot of great announcements here. But I tell you what, nothing happens without partnerships here at Google Cloud. And I'm super excited to welcome our guest, Bronwyn Hastings, who runs software ISV ecosystem. Bron, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, and I'm really pleased that you're enjoying this environment. So am I. Beautiful day, but look forward to the conversation today.
Kind of want to make you go into the office, maybe? Dare I say,
We'll sit by the window at least.
Yeah, well, Daniel and I were debating whether it's like, wait a second, are we going into a country club or are we going to work? We walked by sushi bars, cappuccino. It's just another way to say it's beautiful here.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Thank you for
that.
Yeah,
it is the Google experience, and so I would have expected no different, but new facility. And by the way, just sort of everybody's a little out of practice. So despite the fact that we've all gotten back to doing some live events, we're still, everyone's at a various kind of stage in the continuum of back to normal. So coming in here, crowded place, felt good. And then, of course, the keynote, all the announcements, page of press releases, and it really doesn't matter if you're partner, if you're end customer facing, if you're on the workspace security, or on the data side. There was stuff for everybody today. You, Ron, focus on the partners. So let's start there. Company has put a ton of investment in dollars into the ISV and the partner ecosystem. Talk a little bit about how that investment's panning out and sort of how it's all coming together here at Google Cloud Next.
So what I'd like to share first is, Google Cloud, you've seen the results. Our growth has been quite significant over the past few years, right? Yeah. And so with that growth, obviously partners have become interested in what are the customers looking at, how can they participate in that. The second thing that we've actually shared is that we're saying 100% of our engagements and interactions with customers include partners. So if you think about that statement,
100%?
100% of our engagements with customers will include partners.
That's big.
That's a big statement.
That seems like all of them.
I don't know. Well, okay, you do more partners than I do. I thought that was big. Yeah.
No, I mean, it sounds like every engagement. So
yeah.
I think
yes.
that's...
So I think that, the partners are really interested in that growth journey. And as part of that growth journey, we've also come from a very small ecosystem 4 years ago to one that's now 92,000 partners. So a very vibrant and comprehensive ecosystem. And so, this is really a journey of growth. I'll share a few different statistics as well. 130%, and I'll just check that I don't say this wrong, ISV co-sell growth in the first half of the year. 130%. So ISVs, their journey of growth. The second part is we're seeing that there's been a threefold increase in customers that are spending more than $1 million on the marketplace. So no matter which way we look at this business, it's a growth story for partners. So that's sort of one thing I'd like to share on the reason why the partners are so excited about the journey with us. One of the other things I'd like to share is some of the major system integrators around the world are also investing in practices with Google. They're seeing the customer demand, they're actually investing in expertise, and they're growing their practices significantly. So I think it's not just one partner type,
right.
It's across the board. And so some of them are actually multiplying their certifications by threefold. And that's an indication of them specializing in the Google Cloud environment. And the last comment I'd make is we're getting deeper with our ISVs and technology alignment. And they're seeing that depth in technology alignment gives them the ability to differentiate where Google is strong.
Yeah, what I like about this, In a previous life, I did a stint in global channel. I created a global channel network for the company I worked for.
Yep.
And part of it, they're looking for the next big company who's on parabolic growth that they know is going to be around for a long time.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really good story. Also, I'm really intrigued as an industry analyst of all the cross education that they're getting, right?
Yes.
I mean, listen, I talk to enterprises on a weekly basis, and more times than not, they're already doing business with Google in one area.
Yes.
Typically, it's analytics or AI. Probably not a surprise to you. But you offer a lot of different, really exciting other services, whether it's, classic VMware, SAP, or your security portfolio is extraordinary, especially with the closure of Mandiant. So, yeah, big opportunities. You talked a little bit about systems integrators, and you had some pretty big announcements here, particularly with Accenture and HCL. Can you talk a little bit about those announcements here?
I think I come back to where I started some of this conversation. We've said, and I'll add a little bit to it.
Yeah.
From a delivery point of view, it's partner delivered services. So we're really looking at how do we deliver our services with and through partners.
Right.
And that's leading our service delivery.
Right.
So if you think about that statement, partners like Accenture see that opportunity, the customer demand, the ability to transform companies by actually getting involved and specializing in the work that we do, and leading with some of the areas like AI and data and all the things that you mentioned.
Right.
So that's where that excitement is coming from. And so some of the announcements we've made where they're investing in doubling their capacity or certifying 15,000 individuals, and that will really deepen that specialization knowledge to support our customers' needs, our joint customers' needs and solutioning. There were 2 or 3 other things that they announced. One of them is really having this innovation center in both Europe and North America. And that's about building solutions and getting customers to value in the quickest possible time around Google Cloud and cloud acceleration.
Yeah.
So that's sort of one big bucket. And the second was around their Center of Engineering Excellence, which is about joint innovation and joint solutioning, and then taking that to customers and adjusting where they need to. But leading with things like Google Data Cloud and AI and those sorts of key differentiators. So those are exciting things for us for bringing value to customers together.
Those are sound like pretty big commitments.
They are, and it's that growth, the expansion of capability and capacity, and making sure that we bring value to customers in the soonest possible time.
Right.
Add another one, Accenture's indicative. Another one I'd share is around HCL, where they've done similarly. They've said, can we lead with Google Cloud? Again, around data and analytics and and industries. So maybe it's in financial services or some of those sorts of industries that we are strong in. They've committed to 18,000 individuals specializing.
Right.
And they've also said, they'll take their Center of Excellence, their Solution Center of Excellence, and 3 times the capacity in that, and actually have a cloud acceleration team that's dedicated. So it's just indicative of what the system integrators are seeing and what they think the opportunity is available to serve customers, bring that specialization and solutioning to them.
So we had the chance earlier, Bron, to sit down with Phil Venable, your CISO, and had a great conversation right here. Sat right there, actually. And
imagine that. And I was sitting here, and you were sitting there.
You're sitting in the same place.
Yeah,
all day. And one of the things he brought up was something that's probably particularly of interest to you. And he brought up that there's been a fairly large, I think it's over 20 now, ISVs that have really turned their attention to digital sovereignty.
Yes.
And this is a huge deal right now as companies try to go global, as data has to migrate in and out of different regions that have different regulatory environments and compliance. you've got to be moving really quickly. But talk a little bit about how that's proliferating and how it's really setting Google Cloud up with a big opportunity to address a problem that every enterprise that does business basically in more than one country knows about.
I think we all know sovereignty is a growing topic that customers are finding really important, especially as regulations expand maybe in Europe or some countries about both data sovereignty and the regulations that are required there. So we've been really positive, or we're excited actually, about the interest that the ISVs are showing and their willingness to engage in this topic and the importance that it is for all of us in the industry around this topic. And as we've spoken to them, they know it's a journey, and they know that this needs some agility to it, and they know that they need to be on this journey with us. So that's the thing that's most exciting, is as all of these countries expand their requirements, they're working with us and coming on this journey to deliver the requirements sovereign cloud will need for customers and as customers go on this journey. So we're happy about the initial interest, and I'm sure that's just going to continue to grow from there.
So it's interesting, in some ways it's so much easier to do business outside of whatever nation you started your business in, right? The tools are available where if you wanted to sell internationally, it's there. And then, but the hard part is to be in compliance of all these different rules. And now it's literally down to, okay, this person who is in this province or state in this country, this field of data is a no-no, and it has to stay in a certain country and can never move around, but you're also trying to act in a positive way on behalf of that data, and it's hard for me to imagine working with any company that doesn't have a tremendous amount of scale and expertise, and quite frankly, has a gigantic consumer business too, to be able to pull that off, because I'll call it the mothership, you know, the consumer part of Google, they do that every single day for everything, right?
Yes.
So for instance, I live in Texas, but I live in the United States, and we have certain things that Texas is talking about, but also there are for the US. So that's my long-winded way of saying that it makes sense for me that Google that is a leader in this area and wants to, and has the capability to share the wealth, not only with its end customers, but also its partners.
It's certainly an exciting journey, I must say, on sovereignty.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that state by state, with different states now actually creating new complexities. It's no longer countrywide.
Exactly.
Pretty soon we're going to have city ordinances for data. I'm not kidding.
I know.
It really does feel like we're heading in that direction. So let me, before we close up, let me kind of throw you one over. It's the end of our day. What is the big thing you want partners like that spent the day here at Google Cloud Next? What's kind of the one big on-message point you want them all to walk away with?
The one thing, or even maybe if I could have
1.5. Oh, 3. I mean, now Pat made the last people stick to it.
It's a three-part answer.
It's always a three-part
answer. One thing,
answer.
3 parts. Go.
There we go. I think it's where I started. If I could reiterate, number one is that we are on a growth trajectory of differentiation. If you think about the strength we bring with the data and analytics, with security, with the things that we're doing that are unique.
Right.
That uniqueness allows them to bring that incremental value to their customers when we work together, and we put the customer at the center of that. So that's what I would ask them to walk away with, is there is so much opportunity to differentiate and be that real voice to the customer as we grow together.
Well, Bron, I really appreciate you joining us here for the 6.5 on the road at the beautiful Pier 57 here in New York City. I got to get an all-access pass to this country club.
I know, I heard about that.
It is nice here, but
I can't lend you my Google badge.
I'd never get away with it. But thank you so much for joining us. It's been a lot of fun. It was good to talk to you, and we learned a lot, and for all those partners out there, I'm sure they did too. For everyone out there that is tuning in, this is the 6.5 on the road. We are at Google Cloud Next at Pier 57 in New York City, enjoying this Google Cloud Next Day, which, by the way, had 5 events around the world, but we were so glad to be here. We appreciate you tuning in. We'll talk to you all really soon.